give you a fact before I introduce my next guest. Agriculture in the United Kingdom uses 69% of the country's land area, employs 1.5% of its workforce, that's about 476,000 people, and contributes to 0.6% of its gross value. That's £9.9 billion. And the UK produces less than 60% of the food it consumes. Why am I mentioning all of that? It's because we don't do rural stuff enough. I lived in Norfolk for a very long time, and I tell you, people out in any rural areas often feel excluded from the conversation. So why not include them with a review of a podcast? This is a podcast called Farming Funny. It's with Nick Thompson and James Fairley. And I think, who are we introducing now? Is it both of them? I hope so. Let's see. James Fairley, I think, joins us now. Is Nick with you?
No, Nick's on another Zoom link. Oh, there he is.
Oh, there you are. Yeah, you can't say. I'm in between the both of you. So, as I said, we don't cover farming stuff enough. Tell us about your podcast. Who wants to go first?
I'll let Nick start with this one.
Go on.
Yeah, so we kind of started this podcast just because I went on to find a podcast on farming myself, and actually a lot of them are really serious. And as you'll probably find out, James is a bit of a joker, and we just kind of decided that maybe we should do something a little bit more kind of lighthearted that people might enjoy and target a different kind of audience as well, because as you probably know, the farming generation is getting older, and young people aren't as interested as they used to be. So we're trying to target, a different audience and talk about things to do with mental health surrounding farming as well, and just kind of get across the message that, you're not just alone. Everyone has bad days, especially in farming, because it is a difficult business to be in, and things don't always go to plan.
So what sort of things do you cover? What is it? Funny stuff that happens down on the farm, or what sort of things, do you talk about in your podcast?
We cover a multitude of things, Tricia. We go from funny things as in, what is the biggest mess up you've had on the farm, to deep mental health issues that a lot of young farmers are facing these days in the trying financial times of the agricultural sector. It's trying to let people know that it's okay not to be okay. So we try and cover a multitude of things that goes on within our working week.
Well, I was going to say, okay, so what is the biggest mess up that either of you have ever had on the farm?
Well, when I was a young child, I used to work on my uncle's farm up in Fraserburgh. And he once got me to move the barley from one shed into another shed, and I wasn't properly directed, so I was moving all the barley across. And he came in, and I remember seeing in the rearview mirror, he just fell to his knees, his hands went on his head, he started screaming. I thought, oh, something's not right here. This is not adding up. And what I'd done is I'd taken the winter barley, I mixed it with the new spring barley seed to be sown that year. So yeah, that was that was an expensive one my grandpa had to sort out.
Oh, and I bet the family remembers it. Now, why are you laughing? Why am I getting laughing from you? Sorry, Nick. Nick, is it? No, James.
Yeah. I mean, it's just quite a major thing to mess up. But I mean, the thing that you'll find.
What's your worst one then? Come on. What's your worst one?
Where do I start? I mean, I remember we just got a brand new silage trailer, and it was just after foot and mouth when unfortunately we had to bury all of our cows. And we just started the silage, which is a huge operation, and had a full trailer of silage, drove it straight into the hole where all the cows had been buried, and ended up sinking the whole trailer, stopping the whole job at the first minute. And everyone had to go and get different tractors and stuff to tow me out. But I mean, the thing is, Tricia, these things happen on a daily basis. I mean, I could name 1,000 things that would make people laugh.
I'll also tell you one thing, Tricia, that is the biggest lot of nonsense. He's a lot worse than that. He's just not letting on.
Oh, come on. Spill the beans. There you are.
So, I think some of them are not fit for radio, to be honest with you.
No, I've got, as I said, I lived in Norfolk for, oh God, many years. And my best girlfriend was a farmer. There are a lot of women farmers out there as well. I remember the pea time, that was like madness. It was everybody. I mean, and her sons were driving mini tractors at like 6 and what have you. I don't think people realize what, especially during pea time, how it's every single person's got to get out there because you have to harvest them in what, just a few hours.
The vining's a very, very important operation. You know, it's 24 hours and you've got to get them from the minute they're harvested to the freezer in 90 minutes. So it's all hands on deck,
Whoa.
you know, and the freezers could be 20, 30, 40 miles away. So you've got 90 minutes to get that from the minute it's harvested out of its pod and into a blast freezer. So Norfolk's a very much a breadbasket of Britain. I mean, it's got some fantastic land and the opportunity to grow some amazing crops down there, which in Scotland we just unfortunately don't have the climate. And saying that, I'm basking in 27.5 degrees today, to be fair. This is our summer starts on Friday, and it's going to finish on Thursday. So,
so are you both in Scotland?
Yeah, I'm in the southwest where it rains every day. But to be fair, today I think we've hit a new high of 22 degrees and sunny. So I've had to stay inside. So I'm worried about getting too sunburned.
Well, I'm up on the East Coast. Sorry.
No, you're on the East Coast, and it looks absolutely lovely there for people who can see. So just to wrap this up, it's called Funny. Oh, there you go. You're actually on the farm. So for people who are looking for it, it's the Farming Funny. There you are. We're seeing the Farming Funny, and I think it's an interesting one, even if you're not involved in farming, because it's a very, very rich life. And it's something that I think I'd love to come back to you to again, and we'll talk about rural issues, because one thing I really think that's important, you touched upon mental health in rural areas, and that's something that you're right, it's a really serious subject with so many people living on the land struggling with the economy and everything else. But thank you both. We will come back and visit you. We'll get the funnies, we'll get the sads, we'll get the whole lot. So thank you so much. Brilliant.